welcome back to another Fabulous Confabulation with me, Jay Mills. Today, I am speaking to the amazing KJ Rose, who is a Grammy award-winning artist development and performance expert. She has performed with artists like Diddy, Britney Spears, and Janet Jackson, and has been a performance coach on Khloe Kardashian's E! Entertainment show, Revenge Body, and Kelly Rowland's BET show, Chasing Destiny, and the list goes on. But hello, KJ, how are you?
Hello, beautiful. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Can't complain, trying to stay positive.
I love what you're doing, and thank you for your tenacity in staying on me so that we actually completed the task.
Right, of course. Thank you. Okay, so we're just going to get right in.
Okay.
Can you discuss a little bit about, the Rose Effect and what inspired you to create that?
Yes. So the Rose Effect, Rose being my middle name, started because I was a performer for a very long time as Keanna Henson. And so it was great. I had a great life and singing background for different artists. And then when I desired to be in the forefront, a lot of the executives would immediately say, oh, Keanna, the background singer. So the first kind of transition into, I need to create a persona that people are not aware of, because I felt like I could cover more ground and shift the perspectives that people had if they thought I was this new artist. So Rose is my middle name. Rosa and Rose have each been derivatives of my great grandmother, my mother, my great great grandmother. And so it was only fitting that I went back to my roots. And so KJ Rose began. And after touring for such a long time, labels would bring me in. They loved kind of my approach to performance. And the funny thing was, I would have wanted them to love my music, but that's not what the interest was at the time. And so they would bring me in to help their artists with stage presence and really being able to hone their skills and have a compelling approach and delivery with lyrics. And so what I realized is that I could see very quickly how people went from a sense of feeling uncertain and doubtful into just the smallest level of confidence. And to me, that was the effect of all of my experiences, the effect of what I had consumed being a background singer, being a foreground singer. And I just understood that there was something that for me was, I perceived as a gift, and being able to help people to harness their assets. And I realized very quickly that that is the Rose Effect. And that's how that came to be.
Wow, beautiful. So how was that transition going from performer to performance coach? Like, did you kind of resist it at first? Because you said you wanted to be a performer. So like, was there a bit of resistance, or you were like, you know what, I'm just going to change my whole, career mindset and like want to do performance coaching?
Yeah, I think that, I don't know if I would call it resistance as much as I would call it trying to have a better understanding. Because once you put in so much energy and time and you've learned to get over the disappointments, and you've celebrated the victories, it's hard when God makes you take a hard left. And it's just like, hey, but I thought that this was what I was supposed to be doing. And so that's when I really understood that obedience doesn't always mean that you comprehend what the next chapter is going to look like. It's just if he says move, then you move. And so I probably was apprehensive more so because I felt like I'd already kind of put so much work into being an artist. But what he was showing me was that my end goal of being able to share my gift with the world, that I had a longer reach if I moved into now taking all of these experiences that I've had and now sharing them with other people. For me personally, went beyond just the singing, and so I would have loved, because in my mind, the way I set it up was that I was going to sing for the rest of my life. And so I really believe that he said, that's not your trajectory, and I need you to get on board and all these. And I'm grateful that even though my foresight was not long, that I understood that I was not in control, and I just kept, trying to stay in the will of God, even though I didn't understand the wheel at that moment. So it was definitely tough. It was, and then I also took other people to say, hey, I think you have something, can we use your gift over here? Can you serve and be a vessel in this way? And sometimes I think we don't even, understand the benefit of surrounding yourself with people who see you and who want to push you along in that. And so it's worth exploring with a yes every time, because you just never know where you will land. And also in taking a healthy assessment of where you are, and I spent years, being in such a space of like trepidation and stage fright with performing, that it took me time just to get on the stage. And then when I got on the stage, it took me time to get comfortable on the stage. And so it just, over some time, it really felt like this uphill battle that I was on. And I felt that there was resistance in what I was trying to do in my career, and then the results that I was getting. And so, but then when I moved into, and I didn't move into coach with it being in lieu of me as an artist.
Okay.
I said to myself, one does not have to cancel the other. And so once I understood that these two things could coexist, until I got comfortable and I knew, and it became clear that one of these things was the talent. And then the other thing, which was the coaching, was actually the assignment. But I needed them both to walk kind of in this path. I definitely needed them both.
It's something we all go through. I'm also a believer of God too. And it's just amazing. Like when you actually are obedient and you are following God's plan, it's amazing what else is in store for you. Like you think you're just capable of doing one thing, and he opened your eyes to so many other things. And he showed you were more than just a performer. What is the challenge that you often see with new artists and performers, when you're coaching them, and how do you help them overcome those challenges?
I've encountered artists who have signed on to a narrative that does not represent them. Maybe it represented them at one point, but it no longer serves them. I allow them to give themselves permission to try something else. Like you don't have, just because it was written that way, just because you walked in that path, you can always evolve. You can always recreate yourself. And I believe that that's what my coaching does for people. It allows them to explore more. My job is to shock their systems very early, so that whatever they thought about themselves, my goal is to push them beyond their perceived capacity. So I feel like people come in, and because I am an artist, because I was a vocal artist, I understand that approach has to be gingerly. I am dealing with people's innermost thoughts. We're dealing with their feelings and their emotions and their words. And I can't approach it like I do this every day. I've got to make everybody feel like they are my first encounter ever. And that is my goal, to make people feel special, to make them feel like this is not, just kind of like this cookie cutter, this general thing that I'm approaching, but I want to meet people where they are, and I have to understand where they come from. And so that's the research that I do long before I get into the studio with them.
What would you consider a good performer? And like, who are some performers that you feel blow you away every time with their performance?
I don't even want to name names, because I'm sure I'm gonna forget people, but I would say a good performer to me is someone who's truthful, and it doesn't mean that you have to be, grand in your gestures. It just means you have to be honest. That's it. You have to communicate in a way that feels inclusive, and you have to be vulnerable enough to share those areas that have been unresolved, so that you can really get to the heart of what your internal narrative is, so that your external expression is received, and people know that you figured out why you care about it, and you give them the freedom to accept and internalize it however they need to. But first, it came from a very truthful core in an honest space. And so I will just say, artists that when I watch, I am, moved by it in some way. And again, it's not about, where they are on the stage is not about, sometimes there's just as much confidence and power in the quiet as much as it is in the noisy, right? It's someone being heartfelt when they speak, right? So, Sade says very, very little, but you know that this is coming from an experience that she has. Anita Baker, her movement and her emotion has always come from her body. That is what helps her to push her narrative forward. It's her body. I mean, Beyonce, Jill Scott. I mean, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
because,
there's a
Lil Nas, there's a list. There's a list, but
list.
in working with all my clients, I do have a soft spot and a respect, for their narratives, and it's really about storytelling. So when someone is a good performer, it's because they have honed and understood the art of storytelling, and their story should not look like anybody else's, right? You cannot and you should not be able to hijack somebody else's story. So when I look at someone like Lil Nas X, when I look at Polo G, or I have like a lot of rappers, Lambo Anlo, Ruby Rose, and my job as a coach is not to judge their story. Right? I just need to know that they believe it. So what I am contracted to do is make sure that people have gotten to a point where their own storytelling cannot be poked, cannot be hijacked. That they're as explicit and compelling in the way that they share what they've encountered. And by the time we get to the lyrics and the melody, it is just helping to usher it in a way that can be palatable for audiences, but it doesn't change the core of the message. And that's my job, to make sure that your core is impenetrable.
Right, because that's really what we're drawn to. I mean, all of the, famous performances that we watch and, artists that we listen to, it's because like we either, regardless if it's a sad song, we feel their pain or we feel their happiness, and like we can relate to it, and they're like definitely speaking to us.
Yep.
And so you're the magic behind these artists, basically.
Oh God, but I receive it.
So what do you look for in potential clients?
I pretty much believe that if I get a call from people, that in some way they're assigned to me. Nice. So I don't say, "Ooh, they don't have it, I won't work with them." Unless I just feel like they totally go against my soul and my spirit, or I am forcing people to do, I rarely say no. There have been people that I have been sent that from a vocal perspective were in such the beginning stages that none of my work would land for them. And so I would send them to a vocal coach. So I in some way, I'm still directing them, but I want to make sure that people get the full benefit of performance development. And I always say that vocal coaches deal with the instrument and I deal with the behavior. How well are you taking this information once you have put it on an instrument that is healthy and an instrument that understands the basics of vocals and the science of your voice? Now we can take that and begin the next level of communication from that. So I wouldn't say that I love working with people that have an enthusiasm for what they do, but I'm also, I also love the challenge of people that I get that have no idea why they are there. And, because if it was that easy, if everybody was just happy to see me, then I guess that would get a little boring, right? So there is something about having people that are like, I have no idea why I'm here or what you can do to help me. And then at the end of our session together, I already see the shift and how they perceive themselves, and then for them to just vocalize that they see the shift, is enough for me. So I that said, I kind of welcome anyone unless I know that my work will not benefit them.
So on Instagram, you mentioned that your new book, 8 steps to delivering the performance of your life. Yes, I need to go get one. The calling from God. Why do you think it was so important for you to write this? And what is the, number one thing that you want readers and performers to take away from it?
I think it's such a probably trite statement in terms of, I'm sure everybody has something that they believe is a calling. I think for me specifically, it just wasn't my idea. I was comfortable where I was. The idea of being an author scared me because, it's funny because I am a coach in so many different areas, right? Sometimes it is the coach in me that helps other people understand their assets, what they're great at. Sometimes people they already have traction. They just need another push. For me, I am constantly evolving. I'm constantly looking for ways to add more armor so that I can add more tools and share more tools with my artists. And in this particular case, for me, I had discomfort in this space, right? And I didn't have a coach that said, I know you've never done it before. However, this is the new assignment. And so I think that, because God used a couple of people to say, hey, have you thought about, writing something? Or, hey, have you, really explored just some other ways to reach clients in, London and Ireland and Australia, which were all places I had done workshops, but I wasn't able to leave them with anything tangible. And I really was just saying, all right, I hope y'all figured it out. I'll see you the next time. And so when I thought about completing the task, it was, you can't just go to these places and hope that the information has landed without giving them something tangible in which to continue the work. And so that's where it came from. I felt like it came from a need more than it came from, I got so much to say. It came from a need of, and because in doing this, that means I had to be vulnerable. I could just continue to coach other people, but it was, and help them through their vulnerabilities. But, then I'm not growing and I'm not offering them the fullness of what I can be and do. And so I think it was a way for me to continue to expand and assess those areas that I have not yet reconciled, as I am trying to do the same for other people. So I want to be a coach that continues the work on herself so that I can continue to offer, my heart and my experience to other people. So this again was a 2-year process where I felt like God was whispering, it's time for you to do this. And I was like, no, I'm gonna give you a little pamphlet, like maybe a guide. Like that seems like that's enough for me. And, and even the first rendition of this book said, The Rose Effect, a guide to delivering the performance of your life, because I wasn't ready to accept all that came with, a book. In fact, I wasn't even calling it a book. So people would be like, so you wrote a book? I was like, nah, I wouldn't really call it a book. This was early on when I just was not giving it the credence that it deserved. I was like, no, that's not me. And it just took me understanding that it was bigger than me. And that's one of the biggest takeaways for people is, if I can do it, so can you. And it only takes you doing something a little bit, day by day. And you look up and you find yourself in a stage of completion. And so whatever that thing is, I think sometimes we talk ourselves out of completing the task because it seems like this overwhelming thing, but all it really causes you to do calls for you to do is just to take one step today, to just serve yourself. I think we get comfortable in the cycle of either attaching ourselves to other people's dreams, which is what it is, no judgment there, or we get comfortable in the negativity. So this book is just to help you with your own personal journey by sharing my own, and to help you figure out and resolve those things that stop you from sharing a vulnerable experience.
So how could people purchase your book if, they want to learn about your 8 steps and all of that?
Okay, so my book is available in 170 countries and 60 plus stores that include Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Versa, Apple Books, Kobo, what else? Copia, Gardner's Books. It's available everywhere. It's available in Kindle as well as paperback. If you are interested in a signed copy, you can email me at contact@kjrose.com and I will make sure that you get that. And it's just, I think it's been a blessing to be able to, all of the feedback that I've gotten have been from people that said, I identify with that, I relate to that. You put into words what I've been feeling. And I think when you receive that type of feedback, you know that you're on the right path and that this was something that was necessary for this time, because I think we can also get very consumed with, there are several different people that sing, there's several different people that do blogs, everybody's a host. We've all walked into, kind of like these new mediums that feel saturated. But at the end of the day, nobody wrote this book with me, right? I don't care if you got millions of books out there, nobody will do the thing that you were put here to do.
Right.
Nobody will do it like you.
Right.
Because if your storytelling is on point, nobody can hijack your story. That is specific to you. Only if you're explicit to it.
Right.
Girl, don't let me get to preaching, but it's available.
Oh, preach, please. No. Yeah, I love that. And people can relate to your story, but they won't have the exact story that you have.
Come on.
That's
exactly.
the feedback that you're getting from people, which is amazing.
Even
people want to know that they're not alone.
Mm-hmm. Amen. And even if you had a twin, it still ain't the same story.
Right.
You understand?
Honestly, you're just like dropping some knowledge on us and I love it. I'm here for it.
Thank you.
And speaking of, knowledge and positivity and, continuing that conversation, I've been following you on Instagram for a while now and you're always, always, always so positive and just the energy
Thank you.
On social media and how hype you are. How do you keep that energy up? What keeps you going every day? Like, it's so affectionate and it definitely is something that, is effective to me when I am looking at your videos and all of that. So, how do you keep that energy up?
When people ask me, like, nobody really has asked me what my force is, but when I tell people what my force is, it is that of immeasurable energy. And I am grateful that the stuff that I give to other people is the stuff that's inherently me, and so it doesn't mean I don't have moments where I'm just not up to it. Those are the moments I ain't posting me dancing around because I don't feel it. And so I try to be in real time with how I feel overall. And I think that also, again, understanding that there's a responsibility that comes with this work. It can't be self-serving. Like, you have to understand that there are people that are attached to your gift. There are people that are waiting to be blessed by what you do. And so that also gives me a feeling of just excitement, or it helps me to push past my own feelings until the rest of me can catch up, knowing that it's bigger than me. So it's, I try to find ways to replenish. I love music. I love dancing. I love being around my family. And I love helping other people. I do. I be dancing. And I love helping other people discover, rediscover, reconnect with themselves. That's what I love most.
Can you maybe take us through a typical coaching, if there is such a thing, or, like an example of a coaching, maybe?
I could take you through the first 10 minutes, right? Because everybody is different, right? And so just from an overall approach, I am always interested in seeing what an artist is, right? So I don't come in kind of with my own kind of method first. I want to see where they are, because I always say I'm not there to fix anybody. I'm really there to help people, to help reintroduce people to who they are already. And I want to take them beyond what they think. Whatever they think about themselves, I just want to take them further. So the first couple of minutes is really them showing me their performance, regardless. I mean, and before I even, give them any sort of direction, I just want to see where they are. So I see where I fit in. My job is to fit into what they're doing and just make what they do more believable and more impactful and more sincere. And so I immediately shock their system with, certain exercises that feel, I know initially for them, like it makes them say, oh, she's crazy. And I love it. And I'm fine with that because my job in shocking the systems of my artists is to help them see beyond the narrative they found themselves boxed in, right? See beyond the delivery that they've been doing on stage every night. That's great, but there's something else about you. We are constantly taking in new information, new inspiration every day. Your performance cannot look the same. It must be exemplary, and it must be a display of what you consume every day. So my job is to help them to figure out how to do that, how to project that, how to stay enthused. Because imagine singing one song that has gone to number one 50, 100, 11 times, and doing it with the same vigor every time. So they've got to position themselves as artists and how they approach every performance. They've got to reposition how they see performing, and so my job is just to, again, push them beyond whatever they think of themselves. I just want to take them higher.
What is some advice that you can give to artists and performers during this time? Because, everything is really on pause with, certain exceptions. What can they do now? And are you doing virtual coachings and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm definitely doing virtual coachings and boot camps and workshops and, all across the board. I would say now is the time to try the thing that you have always wanted to do, but you didn't have the time to achieve it. You had not given yourself permission to achieve it. You didn't think you were good enough to achieve it. This is the time to do it. It can be as small as reading a new book on something you've been interested in. Taking a class, like I enrolled in a class because I want to keep my knowledge going and I never want to get comfortable. Like I never want to rest on my past laurels. What I did yesterday happened already, it's over. So I want to keep giving myself and creating a cutting edge for what I do and how I do it, being that cutting edge. And so I would say this is the time to leverage every thought, every feeling, every gift, every asset. And first and foremost, it's to make an assessment of your assets. It's to sit down, figure out what your assets are, figure out those things that you feel are more challenging for you, and then go, because we never have the time, we never have the space to access parts of us that are not working daily, right? So of course they start lying dormant. And a lot of times when I work with clients, it's not that they don't already have the potential that they're looking for me to access. It's that it may have been lying dormant, or I'm showing them things about themselves that they did not know they were capable of. So now I need everybody to know that wherever they are, whatever they might be doing, you are capable of doing that thing that you have shared with nobody else. You are capable.
Your first Grammy Award was with Lil Nas X for his video performance. Can you just talk about how that, going on that journey was like, from coaching him to like that, award, just that whole journey?
Yeah. I think it was new territory for us both. I've attended the Grammy Awards as, a guest. I have sang background at the Grammys for Justin Timberlake. I have just experienced it in different ways, but I'd never experienced it as a coach working with an artist from the inception of their career. And so I think it was that final nod from God that none of my efforts have been in vain, that God can redeem time. And any time I thought I wasted, it was still being used towards something for good, you know? And so I just took all of that, and I knew it was not going to be an easy road, because it was new territory. It was this kind of ultimate approval in a way that, you know, can cause a little bit of trepidation. You know, to be on this Grammy stage is what we work towards as artists. And so it was super fulfilling. It was just on so many levels. The fulfillment came from seeing his breakthroughs, Lil Nas's breakthroughs every day. That's what gave me fulfillment. You know, I think for me, God was saying, everything you wanted, I am now giving to you reimagined. You thought that it was, you get to the Grammys because it would be for your career as an artist, but no, it's your career as a vessel, as a coach.
Were there any other clients that you had, a similar success story where you had them from the very beginning until their first award?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think you have to kind of define for yourself what success is, you know? And so success may not be that you got to the award. Success could be that you had a breakthrough personally, you know? And so I've learned that that's not my metric. You know, that was an amazing thing to, you know, be a part of, but it's not my metric in which to say an artist is successful or not. You know, it's have they moved the needle within the way that they think about themselves. You know, have they moved, have they grown, have they developed from the first day that we started working? You know, it could be a 7-year-old that's got a talent show. It could be an executive at Google, you know? And so, yeah, that my metric is, how have you grown in your personal development and your professional development? So that's my metric.
Nice. And that's a good point that you make. You know, it's true. It's not all about the award. That's what, you know, people see, but it is about personal growth and, you know,
what the people don't see.
When you're looking back at when you first started to where you are now, even if it's not, you know, what society or media sees as success. Definitely agree with that. So do you have any, you know, upcoming projects that you're working on that you would be able to share?
Okay, yes, I would love to share a few things that I've been working on. One is I am a TikTok partner. I'm part of their Creatives Learning Fund, which through COVID, they have taken an interest in creating a program for small business and entrepreneurs. Another great opportunity has come from Ayala Vanzant and Tina Lifford, who are the host of the Love from a Distance podcast. So they brought me on to do IG takeovers as a host for other artists. So that's been truly, truly a blessing. I'm so grateful. It's such a full circle moment with Miss Tina Lifford, because I would say one of my very first song placements was with Queen Sugar in an episode with Miss Tina, Aunt Vi, and Hollywood. And so now to come back and be a part of their podcast has just been just incredible. Another thing is that I am a part of the Ad Color family, and we are doing a very huge conference, and I'm working with their futures as I did in the past. Finally, I'm involved in a boot camp that has been founded by Trisha Smith Brown. It's almost like this virtual day camp that is specifically for kids. And I will be teaching a performance development class, just kind of like, it's called It's a Vibe, really helping them to, you know, just, I think you start young with identifying what makes you dope. The younger you can start, the better. And so I'm just excited to be a part of that. So got some things happening.
You are staying busy, girl.
Ryan.
How can people stay in contact with you, follow up with what you're doing?
People can find me on Instagram KJ Rose Effect. They can find me on Facebook, Keanna, KJ Rose Henson. They can find me on TikTok, Rose Effect 20. They can find me on Twitter, KJ Rose Effect. And those are the things. Yeah.
Nice. And then any last advice for the beauties? Because we are unfortunately at the end of this wonderful conversation. Do you have any last advice for, maybe aspiring performers or just in general overall?
Okay, so my final words will come from 1 Corinthians 1:27-29. Okay. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. So right now, don't you let another moment go by where you ask someone else's permission to do and to be what you were born to be. Stop allowing other people to validate what you were already called for. It has to stop now. You can start in the smallest of things, making decisions based on what you believe your spirit is saying to you. Give your spirit credence. Give those small whispers credence. Listen to your heart. Let that be what guides you. Let that be your metric. God will only give the directions for your assignment to you.
And that's
nobody else.
The perfect way to end this. Thank you so much for chatting.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and
Wonderful.
Continued success to you. Continue
you.
walking in this. I love your persistence and your tenacity. And I just wish more and more blessings and breakthroughs for you as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Remember, guys, KJ is a girl with beauty and brains, and so are you. Bye.
If I had some music, I'd be dancing. Bye, guys. Thank you for listening. Beauty and brains. Hey, beauty and brains.